Are you looking for peace of mind at your doorstep? Look no further. With the Blink Video Doorbell, your home's entrance is always within your control. Check out the link in the video description to learn more and get your Blink Video Doorbell on Amazon. Your home is in your hands.
To view this video, please enable JavaScript and consider upgrading to a web browser that supports HTML5 video. Tom Kenny and Bill Fagerbakke are two of the most famous people in Hollywood thanks to their iconic series, which is turning 25 this year and still going strong, but most fans probably wouldn't recognize them walking down the street. The pair have been on our screens for decades in SpongeBob SquarePants and play SpongeBob and Patrick Star respectively, alongside Roger Bumpass, Clancy Brown, and Mr. Lawrence. The Nickelodeon show first hit our screens in July 1999, and they are clearly still having a whale of a time more than 2 decades on. Unpacking the milestone anniversary of everyone's favorite Bikini Bottom residents in a chat with usnews.co.uk, Bill told us, "If you really stop and think about it, it's absurd. I've been lucky enough to have some really great jobs, and then there was this one. It's just been fantastic. To do something also in the business and not get tired of it after a while. Patrick still makes me laugh. I'll read a storyboard, and I giggle. I love it. I love doing Patrick. I love working with my castmates." Tom agreed. 25 years is definitely a milestone, and to still have it be enjoyable and fun, to have it be a milestone instead of a millstone around your neck, is a really unusual state of affairs. It's rather unheard of, I think. Maybe it's only happened once or twice ever, so to be a part of one of the times that's happened is just mind-blowing. As the world fell in love with SpongeBob and Patrick in the late 90s, it's fair to say that life for the voice actors would also change massively. Tom had welcomed son Mac with wife Jill Talley, who plays Karen on the show, 2 years before the premiere, and they would go on to welcome daughter Nora in 2003. Bill's children, Hannah and Carson, who he shares with ex-wife Catherine McClenahan, were 7 and 5 respectively when the series began, and he admitted that his eldest daughter actually avoided telling friends about her dad's job. "I always appreciated when my daughters were adolescents. A friend of theirs was never aloof to me. I could always just throw out a Patrick line, 'Are you Goofy Goober?' and boom, I was in and we were having fun. That's pretty sweet," he continued. "I had a really interesting moment with my oldest daughter. When she was 11, she went to a new school. She'd been there for at least 2 months, and she came home one day, and I was there at the house. She sits down, she goes, 'Well, Dad, I haven't told anyone yet.' She wanted to meet kids on her own terms." "Yeah, because otherwise you don't know their motives," Tom quickly agreed. "It's not like we ever had a talk with them where we were like, be careful of people who only want to be your friend because of SpongeBob. But they instinctively knew and were like, I'll open up about that if warranted, but I'm not going to lead with that. Kids are very interesting with that stuff. My dad was an accountant, so I never had to worry about it. I remember my son was pretty young and he said, 'Hey Dad, some kids at school say you're famous. Are you famous?' He was really little. I said, 'First of all, we don't use the F word in this house. Tell them I'm not famous, but I do the voice of a drawing that's famous. The drawing that I do the voice for is famous. I'm not famous. SpongeBob is famous.' That put the kids off the scent a little bit." Tom also shared that, as children, both Mac and Nora became wary of anyone who wanted to exploit their SpongeBob connection, and this has continued into adulthood, although there is some distance to the role now. "It's funny, both of my kids were always very instinctively suspicious of any kid that just wanted to be friends with them because they heard that Dad was SpongeBob," he recalled. "My kids were always pretty close to the vest about who they would reveal that to. In some ways, they still are. When they're young adults, there's more of a pride thing on their part, of like, wow, my dad is part of this thing that all the 20-somethings I hang out with think was a formative part of their life, it was important to them. There's a little bit of distance now. It's weird being a kid and your dad is doing something that's really popular with kids. That was a little hard for my kids." SpongeBob SquarePants first premiered on NI.